Well, it is a kind of peculiar situation with Islam, because Islam is not really globalist and it's not liberal. And yet the liberals and the globalists are using Islam to push their agenda. And so you have to be aware of that you're in a kind of paradox. How is it that leftists, who are supposed to be for gay rights, LGBTQ, and so on, have aligned themselves with Islamic peoples? Why that coalition? Islamic people in France, in Britain, they vote for leftist parties. Why do they vote for them? Well, because they like the promotion of diversity, the promotion of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism allows them to grow, to nourish themselves, to retain their identities, while they are not obligated to do likewise for any other culture. So they say, yes, of course we welcome multiculturalism. It's good for us. So that's why they vote for leftist parties. So why do leftists then form coalitions or are so concerned about Islamic peoples and barely ever want to criticize them? Well, because the left sees them as weapons of diversification, ways to bring diversity, religious diversity, a way to say that the US, that France is not really Christian. How could it be Christian? How could you call it Christian? We have lots of Muslims here. And now they're saying, and they're lying about it, oh, well, France had a few Muslims in the 1700s, therefore Islam was a critical part of French history. They're making ridiculous arguments like that. Just because they found some bones from some person that came from the Near East, they say, oh, well, look at that. There is this presence of it doesn't make any sense. And in reality, Islam did not play a role demographically in the history of Europe other than during the early Middle Ages, when they took over most of Spain. Clearly at that point, they had an impact on Spain and played a role in Spain. But eventually they were kicked out, and there was no major Islamic population anywhere in the West. It's insignificant. So now only recently has it become significant in some countries. But they want to say, no, it has always been significant, so that you then take it as natural, as something that is part of Western history, when it is not. So yeah, in that sense, the left is using Islam as a weapon to force diversity onto white people, to force diversity and the idea that Christianity is not central to the West onto white people. And they are rewriting the history and lying about it.
Yeah. We actually saw that in the greater Europe, right out of Brussels, saying Islam was on par with Christianity in the formation of Europe.
Yeah.
They were even saying that, everyone.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Are you worried, Professor Duchesne? Because I know there's a growing number of Canadians who are worried about radical Islam, the spread of Sharia. They're worried about what they see going on in Europe. Do you share that worry for future generations? And looking at fertility rates of these groups, where they're having 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 kids, and they're just spreading. And does that worry you?
Oh yes, if you're living in Britain, if you're living in France, in Belgium, then you should be very worried about Islamization. You have heard probably that the major name of babies is Mohammed in quite a few cities across Europe. Now, I would say that in the case of Canada, in the case of the United States, Islamization is not yet a major thing. And it could also be a distraction from the fact that we have other groups that are taking over. In the case of Vancouver, Richmond, BC, and across our universities, we have Chinese that are a major a factor in the transformation of Canada. So, in my view, we should not lose sight of that. So, Islam, of course, is a big problem because it crystallizes the whole issue, because they openly declare that they're not pro-Western. They openly declare that they are for Islam on your face. And so in that sense, it's very good to awaken people, to tell them, look, this is a reality that's coming to our lands. But at the same time, you look at Vancouver, where there are not many Muslims, and at least the way I see it is, Vancouver is undergoing a radical transformation, is losing and has lost a lot of its British identity, which is really a major loss, because the British who created that city have to be proud. I mean, it's called British Columbia, the province. They must be proud of that and cherish that heritage, rather than just relinquish it and say, oh no, well, British Vancouver looks to the Pacific, therefore it's going to become Asian. It doesn't have to become. So we have to look at those other realities and not just get caught up with Islam.
Yeah, that's a good point, everyone. It doesn't have to be. This is all being implemented. There's plans in place that have been going on for decades. If you read Professor Deschain's book, Canada Decay, he shows the progression from year to year, decade to decade, that this is just picking up steam, everyone. It doesn't matter which establishment government gets in. They're all just tinkering away at this globalist agenda, pushing more and more the envelope.
Yeah.
And Islam is being used, as Professor Deschain says, to divide us, to distract us, to further erode Christianity, our identity, our heritage, our culture.